Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Drums and Drams. My name's Cameron, and today we are doing a live review. You saw the thumbnail. This is going to be an interesting one. We have a little different task ahead of us in this video. We're going to try to keep this between 20 and 30 minutes as we did, I think it was last month, we did the larceny blind battle. But this is not a battle for my favorite. This is a battle for my least favorite, Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, and it's not by year. This is an idea I had because I reviewed A124 on Monday on this week's episode of the Weekly Dram. I'm shooting this on a Tuesday if you're watching the replay. And look, if you are watching the replay, pause this, go back and watch the review first from this week's episode of the Weekly Dram, episode 6, then come back. But if you're watching this live, stick around here and hang out live while we do this. But anyways, after reviewing A124, I thought, well, this is not particularly my favorite batch, so maybe the best thing to do is to find out which is the worst batch, in my opinion, of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. And the notably bad batches that I've tasted in the last couple years have been B521, which in my mind is the worst, B523, which has shocked me in a blind flight before, and now A124. So we have 3 Elijah Craig Barrel Proofs in front of us. Again, A124, B521, B523. I'm going to go through, I'm going to do this blind, and I will give some tasting notes along the way. The main goal, though, is to rank these best to worst. And what I've done on the bottom of each glass is I have double stickered them, and I have written very lightly in pencil. So there's no chance of me seeing through the bottom of the glass. If you use a Sharpie, you can see right through those stickers unless you stack them up. So that's the goal, and I have a couple things to say at the beginning of the video. First and foremost, please, if you are new to the channel, consider subscribing to the channel. About half of you that watch are not subscribed, and so it would be great to get that percentage up. And turn on the notification bell, turn on all notifications to find out when I'm dropping new content. Of course, I've got to plug the Patreon very quickly. $5 or $10 tiers, very affordable. And it seems like we're getting 2 to 3 new Patreon members every day. And that is such a substantial help for the channel. So I just want to say thank you to those folks for jumping in. And I'll give some other announcements along the way as we do this. But I want to get into the video, especially for those of you watching the replay. Let's get straight to the action. These are not mixed up. So this is what we're doing right now. We're going to mix these things up. Just before the stream, I coated the glasses. I swirled them around a little bit. They've been sitting out for about 10 minutes. So each of these has gotten some air, not only in their respective bottles, but also just sitting out in the room. And while I do this, let me say, earlier today, or well, I don't know, about 2 hours ago, 2023 Michter's 10-year rye arrived, and it's going to be an interesting review. So that's all I'm going to say. We're not talking about that tonight, and that review should be out before Thursday night's live stream. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be interesting. I've got a 2019 here. I have an 18 and a 20 open behind me on the shelf. Now the 23. So there's a lot of data points, a lot of stuff to cover. And now these are mixed up. We're going to go your left to right. You're not going to know until the end. We're going to do the reveal all at the same time just to keep things moving. Here we go. On the nose, glass 1. Let's see what we get. And then we can talk laser codes at the end. Here we go. All right, first impression right away is like a green sap note on this. I might just do a quick down the line just to acclimate to these. I had a little Eagle Rare before this, as I usually do. Okay, glass 2 smells much more burnt. Glass 1 was green and sappy. Green, sappy. I almost might say grassy. Yeah, glass 1 feels weird. Totally off profile from what I would expect from Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. Glass 2, definitely toastier. Toasty, burnt, peanut, cardboard. And glass 3 might be the most balanced of these on the nose. Let me give you some more notes now. Christine, I feel like I'm watching a street trick. Follow the ECBP. Yeah, I know. I'll get accused of cheating somehow. I know. Marked glasses. I don't know. All right, yeah, so glass 1, very peppery nose. Not very much cinnamon, not very much baking spice. It's just really, really peppery. Weird. It's very light, a very light profile on this. Okay. 2. I like 2 a lot better. This is darker, richer. There's actually a coffee note on glass 2. It's still, as far as I'm concerned, with what I expect an Elijah Craig barrel proof to smell like, this is still not it. But it's not as bad as glass 1, I guess, on the nose at least. There's still something off about it. Now, 3, then we're going to get onto the palate here. What's up, guys? Good to see everybody jumping in. Please hit that like button on your way in. Yeah, we got 56 hanging tonight. Let's see if we can get up to 100 before this stream's up. All right, so I'm going to go back and forth on 2 and 3. I don't know which one's my favorite. They're very similar. It's just that 2 feels a little bit more burnt than 3. It's more intense, but maybe not in a good way. 3 is a little more balanced, but less flavorful on the nose. All right, so let's go down the line on the palate. Glass 1, here we go. It just smells weird. Very sweet. Very, very, very sweet glass 1. I'm not going to try to guess which batches these are because while I have recently tasted A124 yesterday on the weekly dram, I haven't tasted these others. All right. So, glass 1, a lot of just bright menthol, ethanol, sugary sweet, white pepper. These are all notes I ascribe to young but high proof whiskeys. And we know that the youngest in here is A124 at 10 years, 9 months, and the oldest is, I guess, B521 at 12 years minimum. But glass 1 feels a lot younger than any of those age statements that I would imagine coming from Heaven Hill. All right. Yeah. So that's what I'm getting on glass 1. Let's go to glass 2 now on the palate. I'll nose it very quickly. Hey, what's up, Paul Graham? Good to see you. Drinking B523. Not 533. You're 10 years in the future, man. It's shockingly mediocre, says Paul. That's why it's in here tonight. Although, who knows? It could come out on top. So, yeah, glass 2 for me, like I said on like the first nosing round, espresso, chocolate. This is darker, richer, but toasty and burnt. Like, toasty is good. Burnt is not good for me. And a lot of those batches after 2020, they've all had this kind of, not all of them, but a lot of them have had some degree of a burnt note that's just not that pleasant. And there is some fruit in here. Like, I feel like glass 1, if there's fruit on glass 1, it's very bright. I mean, you're in like pear and orange land, and glass 2 for me is more of like a standard kind of cherry bourbon note. It's not bad, but I don't think on any of these I've gotten a rich oak, a rich leather. Nothing feels particularly rich. So anyways, glass 2 now on the palate. It's like bitter, dry peanut shell front of the palate. I actually wouldn't have expected that off the nose. The nose felt more like, again, burnt espresso coffee. Very grassy. Glass 2, very grassy mid-palate. Ooh, and just bitter up front. Wow, it smells so much better than it tastes. The palate on glass 2 for me. Right up front. It's almost like a Booker's. It has that like astringency of a Booker's. Hey Joseph, so these are just my 3 least favorite Elijah Craig barrel proofs that I've reviewed in years past. And the idea after A124's review on yesterday was, let's just throw these in a blind. And I had a lot of people in the comment section say, yes, please do it. It's like, okay, so next day, we're doing it right now. Josh, are they worth the price? The reason I have these here is because, to me, they're just, I wouldn't buy these. you know, if given the choice. At least the first two. I haven't tasted 3 yet. I wouldn't buy them because I just think you just wait on a different batch. Wait on a better batch that gets better reviews or something, you know. I am really picky about this stuff, obviously, and I feel privileged to be this picky about whiskey and to have collected so much whiskey and tasted so much whiskey. And that's not to sound braggadocious or whatever word you want to use, but that's the point of the channel, is for me to be picky and just say, like, look, I wouldn't buy this, and I buy a lot of whiskey. I would wait on a better batch. But for some people, they want all of them. You know, they take what they can get. They might not be confident they can get a batch at the level of C923 that didn't see great distribution, so maybe they do want to pick one of these up. I still don't think these are necessarily representative of what I've come to know as Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. Some people differ in their opinions. A lot of people reviewing A124 are saying, suck it up. You know, like, they have that kind of attitude about it, and I feel like a lot of people are talking out of both sides of their mouth when it comes to these batches that are not as good. But anyways, that doesn't matter. What matters is checking these out. Let's go to glass 3 now. Yes, please hit that like, says Joe the Sample Guy. The nose on 3 is easy winner for this. Let's see if the palate is good, because 2, good nose, terrible palate. Oh, yeah. That's easily the best of the night. Okay. Easily. There's actually some depth to this and some richness. This is, in my mind, this is not really a bad batch. Like, this is at the lower end, but it might be at the lower end, but it's not in the same conversation as these two, I feel like. Keith, the batches: A124, B521, B523. Okay, let me get a little bit of water. But Michael Hogan says, I've poured a B... Oh, what's up, man? I poured a B521, not terrible at all. Sweet, not too proofy. So B521, I'm not sure when anybody in the chat got into whiskey. For me, it was, 2019, basically. And so I came up with the 2019 and 2020 batches, which were great batches of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. And so I think for the time, when A121 hit, it was like, whoa, pump the brakes, what the hell's going on? And then B521 hits, and it's even worse. And at the time, think about what that was like. Like, this is not at all related to what just happened for the last 5, 6, 7 years, whatever. I think the shock factor really sets in on B521 for that reason, but it was probably context dependent, for the time. And I haven't gone back and tasted B521 in years. All right. So now back to these two. This is the really light, sweet one. Okay. Light and sweet. I'm not detecting any off notes in this, though. It is off profile, but I'm not detecting any off notes. And earlier I was criticizing it for being, white pepper, those bright younger notes, but it's kind of mellowed out. My palate's acclimated into a pretty decent vanilla note. Yeah, and it has developed kind of a leather backbone to it on the nose. So actually that one's not so terrible. And finally, this is the one that I think made me kind of jump back, glass 2. Whew. That's easily the worst. So let me confirm this, and then we will do the big reveal and wrap this up. Man. Okay. This is interesting. The favorite two that are remaining, I feel like it's more of a mood thing. Do you want light and sweet? Do you want dark? For me, this is my worst. This is my subjective list, so I'm going to go with my palate preference. Mm-hmm. This is tough. All right, 30 more seconds, and I promise I'll have a decision. And I'll tell you why I'm having a hard time now deciding between these two. The reason I'm having a hard time is because this one in the middle, which was Glass 1, which was the brighter of the three, like I said, it has developed this leather note on the back end and this little bit of funk, and I like that. And it's a note I'm not saying it tastes like a Dusty, but it's a little reminiscence of that dustiness to it. And I have such a soft spot for that note, and that's what's giving me trouble right now. And I have it in second, and it's like, is that note enough to push it over the top, or is the profile overall of this glass, which was Glass 3 when it was, in the first order, is this overall profile just a better experience? This is tough. All right, I got to do one more small sip of that one because I just drank some water. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Bourbon Retriever, are you going to reward yourself after drinking the three worst? Not right now. I've got to go do something right after this. Then maybe afterwards I'll have a little reward pour or something. We'll see. Mike Hogan says, I'm going to send you a sprinkler for that dead lawn. No, please don't bother. We're renting this place. It's all good. If you saw what is around here, you would understand why it's totally cool. I put a picture of my dead lawn in the Patreon for all the Patreon subscribers and said, this is what the Traveler smelled like. And it's not wrong. I literally got out of my car the other day from the grocery store, and I just breathe in the air. It smells like the Traveler. All right. I'm going to have a reversal. Oh, am I going to have a reversal? It's almost a tie. I probably can't have a tie on this, can I? Probably shouldn't have a tie, right? I mean, there's a clear loser in this, which is great. That's kind of the goal. But I at least want to be accurate with these others. So no tie, says Mike Hogan. All right. This is the last sip. I absolutely promise. We're 18 minutes in. The goal was to be done in 20. I think we're going to do it. It's that dusty. I got to do it. I like the dusty note too much. All right, so in first place of the worst 3 Elijah Craig barrel proofs ever, I bet you this is B523. Let's see. Ooh. Interesting. It's B521. B521 is my top of the bottom. My top of the bottom 3. And this is the one that initially I said, bright, white pepper, feels menthol, surface level, very light. But as I kept sipping it, it developed this little funkiness, this little leather note, and everything else kind of coalesced into a vanilla. Those bright top notes kind of came together in this vanilla way. I think, again, for the time, coming off of those 2020 batches after A121 as well, which was not great. This one with this kind of a profile being so light, that was the big issue with it. Interestingly enough, in this flight, it's the oldest. And so those aged notes, even if the profile itself is light, let me find the proof. It is the lowest proof batch, I believe. Should be here. 118.2 makes sense. Lower proof, lighter profile, but the age comes through on that leather note and that funkiness. So there you go. Now, I would bet you, I was wrong on that one, but I bet you B523 is the next one in line. Yes, it is. So B523 overall was the most balanced of this bunch. I said it right away. This was originally in the Glass 3 spot. I said it was very balanced. It had some of those darker notes of Glass 2, but it didn't feel bitter. It didn't feel, astringent or whatever. And I think balance-wise out of the flight, that is the best. And I had it up there, but the little age note in B521 came through. And so look, that means A124 was the clear worst batch for me. And I think I can say, with this flight, over the years, people that have followed the channel have known that I haven't liked 523 and 521. This is not all for show to denigrate. I've said that word twice now in recent videos. To put down batch A124. This is not a ploy to do that. This is legit. A124 for me is the worst batch of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof that's ever been released. And look, it just so happens that it's 10 years, 9 months, that it's a low proof. And I feel like I detected the age of these in a preferential order as well, blind. So I feel good about this. And I'm going to sip A124 one more time. That is so bad. That tastes like fresh cut grass and peanut shells. And you can pick it out blind. That is not a good batch. And the people, we all have different palates. But I think when there are people who have knocked B521 and B523 in the past, and suddenly when A121 comes around and they go, well, the age statement's not everything, it's just a different profile, you should look at those people twice and say, why aren't you being consistent? Because this is super clear. This is super, super clear. It is what it is. I'm not calling anybody out specifically, but I do want to put that out there that you have people that I believe are talking out of both sides of their mouth at these things, and I don't know what the motivation is for that. I'm all for Heaven Hill releasing different age statements as long as the quality remains, and let's say ahead of time they give you an idea of what the goal is, which could be, hey, A batch, we want a spicier profile. B batch, we want a little more round, rich, and creamy. And C batch, we want oak. If they came out and said that, and then the age statements and the proof points reflected that, as well as the profiles, I think we could all get on board with that transparency. But that's not happening, at least yet. Who knows if there's plans for that to happen. And because of that, I think we're all kind of in the dark going, well, look, you got rid of the age statement. You have a single barrel program that's taking all these barrels, and now these batches are suffering, and you gave us a treat with C923. Let's see. If the next batch is 15 years, then I'll shut my mouth and say, okay, let's all wait for that batch. But also, let's see what the distribution's like, because C923 did not hit a lot of markets. And when it did, it hit one case at a time, and they were gone. And they were flipped promptly for like little to no profit also, which is hilarious. So Mike Conklin says it. A124 is what everyone feared when they dropped the age statement. And again, the people that say, hey, don't, there's only 3 of these variable age statement batches out there right now. Don't assume this is what the trend is going to be. Fair. That's only 3 data points, but that's also 3 data points, and even before the variable age statement started, clearly the quality of these batches was dropping. So I don't think we view these last 3 from B523 to now in isolation. I think we look at those in the context of A121 to A124. That's a lot of batches. And how many hits have there been? Very, very few. C922 was cool. I like that batch. A123 was cool. C923, we had all the drama, but overall, we can say it was a good batch. There's a lot of misses besides that. And before 2021, those misses didn't really exist. So that's it, guys. That's going to do it for me. After they distracted us with C923, says Mike. Look, again, I'll say it just like I said it on the weekly dram this week. Heaven Hill, possibly my favorite distillery. Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, 2020 and earlier, possibly my favorite go-to bottle that I have. So with all the drama that's happened and me saying this and blah, 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 this is where I stand on them. I love them. I think they're amazing. But I say you should absolutely not buy A124 and send the message. As consumers, I know people want to make their collections whole. They want to do it. But if you're not collecting all the batches of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, don't buy A124. It's not an issue of, I just think I'm going to like the profile. If you want grassy, dry, brittle peanut, astringent, bitter notes, okay, this might be the whiskey for you, but I would say 90% of drinkers are not going to want that. Okay, that's going to do it. There we go, Jeb. A true laser code warrior would now find a laser dump batch. We have to find the best micro batch of A124. Hey, I've got some exciting news here at the end of this video, by the way. Surprise today. Some new logos for Drums and Drams are just about ready to go very randomly, and I can share more information about that soon. My Patreon members already know in the Patreon chat. I haven't posted it on the main page, but in the Patreon chat itself, there's some information about that. I'm super stoked about all of that stuff. Next week, first barrel pick for Drums and Drams. And I think that's going to do it, guys. Stay tuned. Either tomorrow or Thursday, you're going to get a new review from me, especially this Michter's 10-year Rye 2023. I do have an H barrel. Everybody's freaking out about those. And you'll see Old Stubborn this week as well. That's going to do it. Cheers. I'm going to wrap up with a pour of B521, which is the best of the worst. And A124 is unfortunately the worst of the worst. Cheers, guys. I'll see you next time here on Drums and Drams.